Push in. Let's get him. Hello all. I wanted today to finally get round to making a video which I think is long overdue in regard to loadout creation in UNITAF and how that system kind of works. And hopefully by the end of it, anyone that's looking to maybe just better understand how loadout creation works, or maybe wanting to amend loadouts or to upload their own loadouts or anything like that, how that actually works in UNITAF and how you can do it yourself, since anyone is able to suggest changes to loadouts on the system. And of course, I'll explain a bit how much that works and how that comes to me and how all those sort of things. So I'm hoping it's going to be a quick video, but we'll see. I'm just doing it on the fly. I'm going to try and walk through the exact systems, how you do it from right here, from on the home page where you see now, into Orbat and then back into ARMA and etc, and how that's going to and how you can do loadouts yourselves, and hopefully make it a bit less confusing for anyone who is wanting to help out, or any of the other things mentioned. Okay, so here we are on the home page, as you can see, and what we want to do is whenever you're planning to maybe make an adjustment to a loadout, or suggest an adjustment to a loadout, or maybe you just want to check the loadout itself for an upcoming deployment, obviously we need to go onto that deployment itself. So first things first, we'll just do what everyone always does. We'll go on to upcoming deployments, as you can see here, and for the sake of an example, we'll just use this Fulcrum coming out tomorrow. But of course, you could use anything. You could click on this fault line and look at the Orbat on that fault line, because we need to get to the Orbat itself to see the loadouts, or it's the easiest way of doing it. So, like I say, as an example, we'll click on this Fulcrum. What we're going to do from here is, obviously, when you are planning to view these loadouts or maybe make changes to them, the easiest way of doing it is in ARMA. Obviously, you can change it out of ARMA, but just to keep it simple for now, the best way of doing it is in ARMA, which means that you will obviously need to boot ARMA with the mods that the mission is requiring. So if I obviously booted ARMA now with Polaris mod set, or a mod set for a different campaign, there'll be missing things from the loadout. You know, like the L85, for example, the rifle that these guys will be using on this deployment. We don't have that on a Polaris mod set, so just make sure, obviously, you go into mods, and with the new drop down up here, obviously make sure you get the right mod set to boot. Otherwise you'll have missing things. Maybe when you make an adjustment you accidentally add something that shouldn't be there. So just like I say, make sure when you are making changes in ARMA, try to boot with the right mod set. But yeah, anyway, we'll continue. So here we are on the Orbat, and let's say you were on a Fulcrum before and you noticed that the EOD specialist loadout, because you were playing as an EOD specialist 4 weeks ago on Fulcrum or whatever, and maybe he was missing a certain explosive, maybe he was missing incendiary grenades, or something that he needed that you noticed, and obviously maybe the GM team fixed it for you, and you thought, oh, that's a good change, they should probably change that loadout to include whatever this item was that was missing. Well, you can suggest that change yourself right here. And the way to do that, the easiest way to do that, that I'll show you is, here we go looking at the actual upcoming Orbat, and you've noticed the EOD specialist is on again. Just next to the EOD specialist, you'll see a small icon of a few bullets, and as you hover over it, will say click to view loadout. There's another button just next to that, which will actually take you into the information about that type of role. But for now, all we need to focus on is click to view loadout. So we'll click that, it'll open us a new tab, and here you can obviously see all the items and weapons that he's actually carrying on the loadout. So from the top you can obviously see primary weapons. He's got an L85, pretty standard. His secondary weapon, you can see it's the ace mine, or the ace mine detector secondary weapon. If you're familiar with that system, you can see it's there. You can see all sorts of things there, blah blah blah, but the part we're actually interested by, if you scroll down, is the import to clipboard. And what that will do is that will actually copy the loadout to your clipboard, ready to be imported into ARMA in the Ace Arsenal, which is what I'm going to show you next. But just for now, that is obviously how you'd grab one loadout. But say you know, let's go back to the Orbat for a second. Say you know there's a role on this in this faction that needs adjusting and is not on this Orbat currently. that's fine as well. You don't have to wait for the role to obviously come up on the ORBAT. So we'll go back to the EOD specialist here. And what we'll do is we'll go down to the bottom and there'll be an option here that says view all loadouts for the British Army MTP Osprey 2013, obviously the name of whatever faction you're on. So if you click that, that'll then take you to the actual faction itself, where here you can now see all the loadouts for this faction. And this is really useful knowledge to see if things have been adjusted and whatnot. And obviously at the top you've got a little tab which tells you about what these colours mean. Obviously if it's blank entirely, there's no loadout there at all. And then obviously red, it's pending approval and no loadout existed before that. So if it's dark red, so say there's assistant machine gunner here, assistant machine gunner heavy, there's a loadout request pending for that. And there's no current loadout for it at all, meaning that if someone made an ORBAT with that loadout request, or before that loadout request is approved, there's no loadout that role can use. So obviously those are quite important. And then if they're like a yellow or orangey amber, whatever you want to call it, there's obviously a loadout already existing, and someone's made a request, which is most of the time what people will be doing when there is an adjustment, like the EOD specialist example I gave. A loadout already existed. So you played it, obviously the loadout already existed, but he was missing, you know, a detonator or whatever item he was missing, and you thought that would be good to add in. So you've made the change request, and this is what it will look like. So obviously EOD specialist on here is green, but if you requested a change, it would then turn to this amber. So that's just how that explained a little bit, and obviously from here you can click on other roles that you might think need adjusting and whatnot. You know, preferably with your own experience of playing them is the best way of doing it. If something was missing from a loadout and you noticed it, because that'll give me, when I see it, a great indication that obviously you've played the role and you know this is missing, rather than just like, oh, I didn't like this scope or something like that. It's better, it's more useful for me if there was actually an issue, rather than a personal preference. But enough about that anyway. So let's just go back for now to the EOD specialist loadout at the top, as you can see, and we'll do what I was mentioning about the import to clipboard. So we've clicked import to clipboard, now we've copied it. You then boot ARMA with the mod set for Fulcrum, which I've already done, and if we jump into ARMA now, what we're going to do is we're now going to go into the Ace Arsenal, just up the top here. We're not going to go into the virtual arsenal, the vanilla arsenal, that one is. We're going to go into Ace Arsenal. So if we boot Ace Arsenal just like this, okay, here we are. Don't have to worry too much about any errors that pop up, it will just be from previous loadouts. Okay, so here we are on Ace Arsenal, and what we're going to do from here is literally just, I'm going to do Control V and paste that export we had. So there you go. It's loaded automatically the loadout, just from pasting it in, and obviously from here you're free to use it and check it. So, you know, if there was cable ties missing or something like this missing, right here you're free to have a look and check those things out. Obviously these loadouts are made according to the SOP, so the standard equipment that you'd be given for medical and things like that, there is SOP for that. So don't say, you know, for example here, he per SOP cannot carry any more bandages in the loadout. So if you don't think these 12 bandages are enough, and try to make a change for that, I'll end up denying it. If you gave him 10 packing bandages and 10 quick lock bandages, I'll deny it as an EOD specialist, because per SOP he's only allowed a maximum of 6 packing and 6 quick lock. Obviously when you're in mission you can choose what you want. But yeah, here's his loadout, and let's say, I don't know, let's say he didn't have this firing device, so I'll just put it on the floor as if he didn't have it. So he now no longer has a firing device, which is an issue. So what you'll do is you'll go back into the arsenal, and you'll find the item that's missing. So that would be under these tools here, and there's the exact firing device that was missing, and you'll just put it in its inventory like so. So now we can obviously double check again in the inventory. Now he's got the firing device again. Obviously that one's the one we put on the floor. And now what we'll do is we will go back to the Ace Arsenal, and we'll export like that. So now, as you can see at the bottom, it says current loadout exported to clipboard. We've just copied whatever we're loaded with right now to the clipboard. And for the sake of argument, like I say, I'm just going to tab back out, and here we are again at the EOD specialist loadout on the website. And if we go down here to the bottom and hit change request, This will also bring up the current, this text here is the current loadout, what you copied in the first place. But what we're going to do is delete that to start off with. And now, with the loadout we've just exported from the Ace Arsenal, we'll hit Control V and paste it back in. And this is now currently the loadout we are loaded in the Arsenal. However, we're not done yet, because to make it a little bit easier and to work with the website correctly, we actually need to destroy some of this code. So just to keep it simple enough for you guys now, the only thing you need to know is from the end, you need to delete these 3 brackets and then the comma right at the end. So if you see a difference there, right there now is now just 2 brackets at the end. Now I've deleted 3 brackets and the comma, and then at the beginning of the code of the export, we're going to delete just one of those 3 brackets. So there's 2 brackets at the end, 2 brackets at the beginning, and that is now ready for a request. The next important part is you'll want to enter a summary of what you changed. So for this, I would say added, I can't remember what the firing device name was, but let's say it was M152 or whatever it was, firing device that was missing from original loadout, like that. So now that's ready to go. That's all you've done. You've only added the firing device and imported it. So you'll submit request, and this will look a little bit different from for you. Obviously, this is for my own approval and denial. But what I'll see here is that I'll see pending request from, it's obviously from me, but from whoever has submitted it, and then it will tell me what you've written here about what's changed. So there you go, add a M152 firing device that was missing from original loadout. I'll be able to copy the request and then test it myself in ARMA. So that'll literally just export it just like we did before, and you'll be able to cancel the request. So cancel request would be if maybe you've wanted to request another change that you've forgotten, or maybe it's no longer necessary, or whatever it is, you can obviously cancel your request there, and then obviously I'll be able to accept or deny it depending on what we need to do. So that's the simplistic way of it working. Just a few points I want to make about important things to look out for that I want to prove here. So I'm just going back into ARMA, and here's a good example of something that sometimes happens in ARMA. So we're in the Ace Arsenal now, and let's say you're doing some test firing. So that's probably very loud for everyone. And you put your earplugs in just like that, just like you would in a mission, just so your character doesn't go deaf. Just be careful now with the earplugs in that when you go to export this loadout, as I'll show you again. So let's just cancel this request. So here we go again. We're going to try and request this change once again. We're deleting the old loadout, we're pasting it in. What you'll notice now is it says Ace earplugs true at the end of this code, because if I import this loadout back into ARMA, it'll import with his earplugs in, which is not what we want, and it may break things. So just ensure you either export from ARMA with your earplugs out. So let's go back into ARMA for an example. So you've made the loadout, you've adjusted it, you're firing at people, whatever, and then you just take your earplugs out when you're done. It'll put them back in, put them back in the inventory, and now that's ready to be exported properly. Or you can simply delete right at the end, just that part again. We're doing the 3 brackets at the end and that comma, but obviously including the Ace earplugs part. So once again, it will be just 2 brackets at the end, just like that, and then obviously 1 bracket at the beginning, and there you go. He now no longer has earplugs that will automatically place in his ears. However, because we've obviously took the earplugs out of his inventory and put them in his ears, now if I import this loadout into ARMA, just like so, he'll no longer have earplugs in his inventory because you've deleted them. You put them in your ears and then deleted them. So the best way of doing it is just basically making sure the earplugs stay in the inventory and not in the character's ears when you put the loadout in to the website. Another good example of something to keep an eye out for when you're in the Ace Arsenal and exporting to the website is scopes changing class names depending on your setting for that optic or mod setting. So this is an example here. I've just grabbed an LDS, and this is just an LDS you can find on the Arsenal itself. If I try it out and I look down the reticle, everything seems normal. But now if I go back into the Ace Arsenal, what you'll notice is there's a hidden LDS, which is the picture-in-picture mode. As you can see, the class names are different just down there where my cursor is. So here's the one that's accessible in the arsenal, and here's a hidden one that will then appear in the arsenal because it's changed the weapon to a picture-in-picture, or sorry, changed the optic to a picture-in-picture version of this optic. You don't want that because it will then be when the loadout's exported to the website and it uses that loadout in a mission. Someone will then be using this picture-in-picture, not his own settings. So say he wanted 2D version of the optic, not a picture-in-picture. He doesn't have that now. He only has this picture-in-picture one. So what you want to do is just keep it on the standard version. So just change it back just like that. So you just want to keep an eye out for any picture-in-picture or 2D or anything that isn't just the standard version. And now if I try again and don't look down the optic, it won't happen if you don't look down the site, and go back in, you can see the picture-in-picture one's gone because it's a hidden version of that optic. So you just want the standard version that is accessible. Just make sure it hasn't switched out for a different version. So another thing you can do, we'll just back out of this for now. Another good point to note is, say there's a change you wanted to make for a mission that had previously gone. Obviously you can go into past deployments. There, in past deployments. And let's say it was for this giant Spain, as you can see down here, that took place on the 27th. Obviously you can go into that past deployment just like so, and we'll go on to the obviously you'll get the mod set. Once again, you'll need the correct mod set. You'll go into the ORBAT, and once you just rinse and repeat, you'll take the loadout you want, you'll mess with it, blah blah blah, post it. That's the 101 way of doing those loadout requests, loadout change requests. Another good thing to note is when making factions, you may come across a sheet like this, which we've thrown together. And what you'll notice is this sheet is just a Excel sheet or a spreadsheet, and it's supposed to emulate what you'll see when you're looking at an entire faction on UNITAF, like this. So as you can see on this giant Spain faction, you've got it categorized as core infantry, combat leadership, field leadership, medical, blah blah blah. And on here you've got core infantry, field leadership, medical, anti-vehicle, just the same. And this is just for if you want to make a new faction, maybe if you're a campaign manager and you're making a new faction, you can put it on the sheet first, just for the sake of safekeeping. And from there, obviously, you can, like I say, just import your loadouts just like that, where they, in the corresponding positions, just like that, and it will work just the same. I'll then look at this sheet, or then you could look at the sheet and import them back over. It's just for the sake of storage, basically. Okay, I briefly mentioned earlier that loadout creation falls under a specific SOP, and I'm just going to show you that now to explain a little bit. So here we are again at the home page, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the SOP portal, as you can see here. And if we change the category just to mission support, which this falls under, loadout creation falls under, you'll then see right at the bottom, policy loadout management. So we'll click on that. And here you've got some great information about the SOP we follow when making loadouts, and what you'd benefit from following from when you're making your own, or requesting your own loadouts to be less likely to have them denied. And obviously there's also the eras here, which I think people will find quite interesting, which focuses on what the loadout should be carrying generally. But one thing you should focus on is the core combat load section. And this is basically what everyone should be carrying, the bare minimum that everyone should be carrying, and the maximum as well. It will give you the bracket of what they should be carrying. So as I mentioned earlier about the bandages, as you can see on the core combat load, every loadout should be carrying between 4 to 6 quick clots and 4 to 6 packing bandages. So if you suggested a loadout to me that had, like I gave the example, 10 quick clots and 10 packings, I'm going to deny it, because it's per core combat load, it's broken SOP. Obviously there's exceptions for medics and stuff like that, as there will be for everything here. For example, ammo bearers will carry loads of ammunition, loads of magazines, and loads of grenades and stuff like that. So this is just for everyone's bare minimum, where every loadout should be carrying, bar the exceptions of that I mentioned, and cavalry and air crew and things like that. But this is an important thing to look at if you bookmark this when you're making loadouts, just to refer to if you're ever unsure about something, because it's what I'll be looking at when I look at these loadouts. If there's a big change or something like that, rather than just giving a missing item that he requires, that the loadout requires, or something like that. So do read over that, do keep an eye on that. This may obviously be adjusted and stuff, so do refer to it whenever you're making a new loadout or making a change. But yeah, that's where it is, and that's a good bit of information for you. Okay, that should just about do it for this sort of brief introduction to how loadouts work in UNITAF and how anyone can make change requests to try and benefit the loadout, and how J5 work with that and make their own factions. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scene, but I hope that just gives you a little introduction, and anyone that was curious about how to make it work or wants to help out or anything like that, I hope that this video helped, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in the field soon. Follow me. Trying to get behind us. Yeah, the one I said. He's still alive, get him! He's down, I'm here, don't shoot him. Don't let him get behind us, good work.